shifting gears, another question, how do teams evolve? So we have again this ubiquitous pattern of progress, or the answer, which is the seed to the flower, and the physical, the vital, the mental. And if we think about productivity of teams, then research will tell us that initially any team that's in the forming stage is not so productive, and forming is really representative of the status quo or the physical level. Teams at the vital stage or the storming stage tend to be more productive, but also a lot more chaotic. And a fact of the matter is that most teams don't go beyond this point. But if teams are able to go beyond this point because they've adopted some kinds of principles or charters, or are all geared towards one common goal, then they get to this mental level, which is represented in the stages of team development of norming and performing. And so again, we see this pattern of productivity that goes through these three same stages. Now if we ask the question, what's the future of the internet? Then again, the answer exists in this pattern of the flower. So we have the seed, some growth, and then the flower. So we have physical, vital, mental. And at the early stages, well, the base question is going to be, what sense can we make of all the data that the internet provides to us as users on a day-to-day basis? And here we have, in the beginning, the adoption of the internet by early adopters. So it's controlled. There's some sense of data. It's far from universal. And then there's as the user base increases, there's an exponential increase in the number of users, but also there's a kind of an inflection point where things begin to make less sense as more and more data comes in front of the user by using the internet. And then we're at a critical bifurcation point now where as the user base increases, the sense in the internet could become less unless there's a development that puts sense into the way that traffic flows and the meaning of the traffic, which perhaps means that there has to be some meta modeling or purpose-driven models interposed on the internet. So here again we have this sense of the necessity of meta modeling to make sense of a sustainable internet. And then if we ask another question, what is the structure of space? There's the answer again is represented by the seed to the flower. And here, if we take a relatively deep view into space, we find a structure which we can call the Mandelbrot set, which is like this incredible turtle that pervades all of space. And so we find this pattern that exists again and again and again. And again, this is just on the surface, on the physical aspect. And if we dig deeper into this, going into the vital aspect, we go into the question of what gives that turtle that exists everywhere its stability. And we find that there's a dynamic structure that's represented by octahedrons and tetrahedrons, or the 64 tetrahedron grid, that provides stability at the same time as providing a basis for dynamism. And if we go yet deeper, we find in fact that there is perhaps an intelligence that cloaks itself in this dynamism, which appears as a stable Mandelbrot set, which is the basis of everything that we see around us in terms of its physical structure. So the very structure of space also the answer is this seed to the flower.